will maybe have a tendency to
spend too
overindulge.
much and won't be able to pay your rent. That's the problem.
He holds the line.
I resent it, and I resent you for doing it.
Powerful.
I don't know where you've been, but you're going to respect this courtroom. I'm going to throw you out real quick.
Mathis Court is in session.
Weekdays on WZMQ CBS.
Kamala Harris has spent decades fighting violent crime. As a border state prosecutor, she took on drug cartels and jailed gang members for smuggling weapons and drugs across the border. As vice president, she backed the toughest border control bill in decades. And as president, she will hire thousands more border agents and crack down on fentanyl and human trafficking. Fixing the border is tough. So is Kamala Harris.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
Live coverage of the DNC as it reaches its conclusion tonight. Good evening, everyone. I'm Kevin Hodge. Tonight on your WZMQ 19 News, we're live in Chicago once more as the Democratic National Convention wraps up with Kamala Harris officially accepting the nomination for president. Plus, while the Democrats celebrate their candidate, former President Trump visits the southern border in Arizona as he continues his campaign. And we finish out our three-part series covering the understaffing of prisons in Michigan. Your 19 News at 11 starts now.
Live from the UP, this
We have a lot of things to do this weekend in the UP, so how's the weather looking?
Well, it could be a little bit damp as we get into our Friday. Friday's right around the corner. We've got some showers rolling in this evening. Maybe a thunderstorm. That is the likely outlook for tomorrow. I'll break it down for you, though, after the break. Our lows expected to be 55 to around 65 degrees, and we'll see these clouds increasing throughout the evening and into that Friday. But I've got a look at when those temperatures are going to be on the rise.
All right, thank you, Aaron. Hancock police are reporting the death of an area resident following a crash on an electric scooter. They received a call around 5:40 Thursday morning and upon arrival found the 50-year-old man dead on the road. The investigation is ongoing, but it does not appear to be suspicious, according to Hancock police. The final day of the Democratic National Convention just concluded minutes ago. Oh, excuse me, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties. We will see if we can get over to Chicago following the DNC's final night. So instead, we are going to move on, to the Trump side. On the final night of the DNC, former President Trump is campaigning from the battleground state of Arizona, where he's touring the southern border. Immigration is also the focus of his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance's visit to Georgia. Natalie Bryan has the latest.
Former President Donald Trump, touring the U.S.-Mexico border in Arizona, is leaning into one of the issues central to his first presidential run in 2016 and his current one.
With your vote, we will seal the border, stop the invasion, and launch the largest deportation effort in American history.
The former president also met with families of victims allegedly killed by undocumented immigrants.
I hope that you will just take my words to heart, because it's devastating to lose a child.
Trump and his running mate J.D. Vance have been visiting a different battleground state each day this week, highlighting topics from the economy to immigration as counter-programming to the Democratic National Convention.
The rest of the world help us.
Senator Vance, campaigning in battleground Georgia Thursday, focused on public safety, the fentanyl crisis, and echoed Trump's comments on border security.
The reason why we have an open border is because Kamala Harris undid the policies of Donald J. Trump. We bring Donald J. Trump back, we bring those policies back, we will get border security, but you've got to have a president who wants to do this stuff.
The Trump campaign has blamed the Biden administration and Vice President Kamala Harris for record crossings last year. But in recent months, the numbers have fallen, with new data released by Customs and Border Protection showing arrests at the southern border in July dropped to their lowest level since September of 2020. This follows President Biden enacting asylum restrictions in June.
As correction officers speak about how years of staffing shortages have impacted home lives, mental health, and working conditions, the Michigan Department of Corrections has remained mostly silent in response. To finish our series, our Michigan Capitol correspondent Sophia Murphy has more on the DOC's response and officers calling for them to take more action.
President of Michigan's Corrections Organization, Byron Osborne, says corrections has become a stop-and-go job.
This is not what you would categorize as a safe line of work, right? We go in there every day with the potential of loss of life or serious physical injury.
Officers feel there's no advantage to working in such a dangerous and taxing field without the appropriate pay or benefits to support themselves and their families into retirement.
It used to be it was $6 an hour to work in fast food and $16 an hour to work at the prison. Until very recent changes, you could make more working fast food.
This has led corrections officers to advocate for a significant increase in pay and benefits, a change Osborne says would incentivize the career, drawing in more recruits and keeping COs in the field.
It's a necessity to have some premium type benefit packages and pay, because otherwise you're just not going to be able to attract and retain people.
UP representatives have been supportive of the proposed changes and say they're working on legislation to secure pension benefits and pay raises.
At the end of the day, the biggest pressure on them and their families is their income. They need the income.
Still, the Department of Corrections has remained mostly silent on the issue. I reached out to Director Heidi Washington on the topic, but was told they would be unable to coordinate an interview. State Senator Ed McBroom says the department has been unwilling to acknowledge pensions or increased benefits as a solution.
And until the state takes it seriously and does something about it, I don't see how we're going to stop the downward spiral that we're seeing in employment at corrections.
State lawmakers say despite the lack of support from the department, they'll be working hard to bring relief to those people when they return to Lansing in September. For Michigan's capital, Sophia Murphy, WZMQ 19 News.
The Dickinson Conservation District hosted its annual meeting today, tripling its attendance from previous meetings. Highlighted were efforts to secure funding for vertical farming to address Dickinson County's status as a food desert. While the district narrowly missed a $350,000 federal grant, they plan to reapply in the fall, potentially securing up to $750,000 with additional support. Equipment for the project is already on standby.
County is considered a food desert. Actually, the entire UP of Michigan is considered a food desert, and the farther you get away from Marquette County, it becomes worse, and the distance to a grocery store becomes greater, and therefore we have a very much underserved population.
If successful, they aim to establish a facility that could provide affordable, locally grown produce year-round with educational opportunities for the community and schools. Also today, Bay College in Escanaba invited the public to tour its health center that opened earlier this year. The Center for Youth Health and Wellness serves anyone ages 10 to 21 in need of non-emergency physical and mental health services. The center is a partnership between Bay and Public Health Delta Menominee counties, whose goal is to make healthcare more accessible for young people.
Need in our community, especially for the mental health services. Anybody that is in need of mental health services really struggles to find a provider. And then also physical health, especially for children. Going to a doctor can be intimidating, and this clinic is geared towards children.
Over the last 2 months, the center provided free sports physicals to more than 300 student athletes. To learn more about booking an appointment at the center, visit WZMQ19.com. And still to come on your 19 News, a major installation of solar panels is underway in a small UP town. We hear from the landowners about what it could mean for the area. Mike Ludlum will have your look at sports. The Baltimore Ravens and the Green Bay Packers hold a joint practice. We'll see how it went, and we'll see if we can get that live coverage of the DNC when we come back.
Amy Doyle reports at 6 and 11 on WZMQ 19 News.
She's fair.
Untrue, Your Honor.
What, you're going to have your turn.
She's inquisitive.
What in the world led to this young lady finding you in this compromising situation?
She's very frank.
You should never start anything you're not prepared to finish.
Compassionate.
I see a family that still loves each other, and I'm glad to see it.
And firm.
The only thing that matters in this particular courtroom, sir, is how I see it.
Watch Equal Justice with Judge Ebony K. Williams.
Weekdays on WZMQ CBS.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
The alarming spike in inflation soaring to its highest level in nearly 40 years.
That is called Bidenomics.
Gas prices rose again today, reaching a new all-time high.
We're still dealing with inflation, and we've got super high interest rates at the same time.
Bidenomics is working.
2/3 of Americans are just struggling to make ends meet.
And this comes after Friday's jobs report showing a spike in unemployment.
And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
On the next edition of Comics Unleashed, with your host, Byron Allen. As 5 of the most hilarious comics take it to the edge every night, and nothing is off limits.
That's what I learned in any relationship. Communication is the most important thing. Yeah. The more you can